I'm speaking from the middle of the rush and bustle of the days immediately following the historic Carmarthen election, an election which has transformed utterly and in an instant the prospects of the Welsh nation. Consider the electoral facts. Even in the general election, when the Welsh cause did well, the Liberals were 4,500 in front and Labour 14,000 before us. But now, only 4 months later, Wales has won the seat, with nearly 2,500 more than Labour and 8,000 more than the Liberal Party. Conservatives, of course, came nowhere. The people of Carmarthenshire have in this way declared before the world that Wales is still alive and that she's determined to have a national future. Hundreds of millions all over the world have read the strange news that there is on this island a small nation, submerged for centuries without dignity or purpose, now surfacing. Everywhere, because of the action of the people of Carmarthenshire, Welshmen are walking with their backs a little straighter and their heads held a little higher. A great step has been taken towards recovering national self-respect in an ancient people who had almost forgotten how to stand on their own feet. Loyalty has been revived for a nation for whose freedom our forefathers for over 1,000 years fought and laid down their lives. The need today is not to die for Wales, but to live for her. Things will never be the same again in Wales after the great decision of July the 14th, 1966. It could prove of greater significance than the election of Tom Ellis on July the 14th, 1886. Its effect on Wales could be as traumatic as was the effect on France of the fall of the Bastille on July the 14th, 1789. It could be the sign that the oppressive yoke of English order in Wales is about to be thrown off by the Welsh, and they're about to march to meet the future as a free nation once again. This order in Wales is no less oppressive because it's been sustained by so many Welshmen of eminence and ability. It has all but destroyed our nation. Our language, which some think has the oldest living literature in Europe, is without even official status in the land where it's been spoken for nearly 2,000 years. In the only parliament Wales has, I will not be allowed to speak the Welsh language, not even be allowed to use it to take the oath. This is the situation the English parties have tolerated without protest through the generations. The English order in Wales has been justified mainly on economic grounds. Mr. Wilson has just said that the Welsh nation is enjoying prosperity, and he's told us the reason why. Because of the Labour government's emphasis, he says, on regional development. Well, now, this is the language of all English governments. It was the language of Macmillan and Douglas Hume. But in Wales, we don't see the evidences of this prosperity. What we see are mines closing, railways closing, unemployment, migration, depopulation. What we see is a government without sufficient sense of urgency to prepare a plan of action for us. What we see is a government unprepared to invest heavily in roads, which are the main condition of economic development. Hence the government alone has the power to do these things. What we see is the body of our nation being ruined, just as her spirit is being destroyed by sterile and irresponsible misgovernment. The gentlemen sitting in London make a desert of Wales, and they call it prosperity. And we're told that all this is inevitable. The march of inexorable economic forces, they tell us. But we must reject this shallow and immoral attitude in Wales. A nation, after all, has a purpose. It has a meaning, has a place in the providential order of things. A duty to live. Wales has a duty to live, to be herself, to contribute to civilization. And we are men, after all. We are men with a will of our own. We're not puppets at the mercy of economic forces. We can control events. We can control economics. And we can control politics. They should serve our community, not destroy it. There's nothing, after all, which is inevitable in this life. Nothing at all, except death. Let us then, throughout Wales, exercise our will, as the people of Carmarthenshire have just done, and will full nationhood for our land. If we will it, this can be done. English government in Wales is a wretched failure. But although Wales is the worst governed nation in Europe, Wales is not dead yet. There is life here. There's new life here. There's a new generation rising in loyalty to their land. And the light we see today is not the light of a setting sun, but the light of a new dawn. And together, In the next few years, it's possible for us to restore our national freedom and to set Wales once again where she should be, a free nation and a responsible member of the great community of nations in the world.